We will work, we will cook, we will help your home. Please grant us shelter," said the Apache sister. Maria wiped the sweat from her forehead as she looked ahead at the endless trail of dusty road stretching before her. The sun was setting, painting the sky in soft oranges and pinks, but the heat still lingered, pressing down on her back like an invisible weight. Beside her, little Elena shuffled along, her small feet sore from walking for hours. Yet she kept moving, trusting her older sister's guidance. They had been traveling for days without rest, leaving behind the only home they had ever known, a village where drought had dried up the soil and hunger had become a constant shadow. Maria's heart ached when she remembered the faces of her neighbors, their eyes hollow and tired, trying to feed their children with what little they had.
She knew leaving was not a choice made lightly.
The journey ahead was uncertain, and danger seemed to lurk at every turn, but Maria carried the hope that somewhere, someone would show them kindness.
"Stay close to me, Elena," she whispered gently, taking her sister's hand.
"We will find a place to rest soon. We just have to keep walking." Elena nodded, though her eyes betrayed her exhaustion. Her stomach growled quietly, reminding them both of the meager rations they carried. Maria reached into the small cloth bundle slung across her shoulder, carefully taking out a piece of bread that had survived the journey. She broke it into 2 uneven pieces, offering the smaller one to Elena. "It's not much," Maria said softly, "but it will keep us going a little longer." The 2 sisters ate in silence, sharing not only the bread but the quiet comfort of being together in a world that suddenly felt so harsh. As night fell, the temperature dropped quickly. Perhaps the sisters wrapped themselves in thin blankets, huddling together under the faint light of the stars. Maria kept watch, listening to the distant sounds of the night. The rustle of leaves, the call of an owl, the occasional bark of a dog from a far-off farmhouse. Every noise made her heart jump, a reminder that the world outside their small village could be dangerous. But she refused to let fear dominate her thoughts. She whispered stories to Elena, tales of their ancestors, of Apache women who had endured storms, hunger, and hardship, yet remained strong. "We are like them," she told her sister. "Brave. By strong. We will survive." The next morning, the sisters resumed their journey, walking through fields that were once lush but now lay cracked and dry under the unforgiving sun. They passed abandoned homes and withered gardens, reminders of what life could become when the earth refused to give. Each step was tiring, yet Maria's resolve never faltered. She thought of the life she wanted to build for Elena, a life where her sister could sleep without hunger gnawing at her stomach, a life where kindness and safety were not just dreams, but reality. Along the way, they encountered other travelers, some kind, others indifferent. A group of farmers offered them a small bowl of water and a piece of fruit, a gesture that lifted their spirits. Maria thanked them with deep gratitude, bowing slightly, while Elena's eyes lit up with the simple joy of being seen, being recognized as human beings deserving care. These brief moments of connection reminded Maria why she kept going. She knew that somewhere, someone would open their doors to them, would allow them to rest, work, and live without fear. By the 3rd day, fatigue was evident in every movement. Elena's steps became slower, and Maria found herself carrying more of their burden, both literally and figuratively. Yet Maria never let her sister see despair on her face. "Ah! Ah!" She hummed soft songs as they walked, melodies their mother had taught them, songs of the wind through the trees, of rain falling on thirsty soil, of courage and hope. These songs were a shield against the heaviness of their journey, a reminder that even in hardship, beauty could still be found. At one point, they reached a small stream. The clear water sparkled in the sunlight, a precious gift after days of thirst. Maria helped Elena drink and even managed to wash the dust from their faces. The cool water revived them, and for a moment they laughed together, their voices echoing softly across the empty fields. "See, little sister," Maria said with a smile, Brent. The world still has gifts, even if they are small. We just have to find them. But the journey was not just physical. It was emotional. Maria felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. She had promised herself that she would protect Elena, that no matter how harsh the world became, they would survive together. Each step reminded her of the fragility of their situation. They had no permanent home, no safety net, only the kindness of strangers to rely on. But, yet in this uncertainty, Maria discovered something deeper within herself, a strength she did not know she possessed, a determination that burned brighter than fear or doubt. Breaths. As evening approached once more, the sisters found a small grove of trees, enough to shelter them from the wind. They settled on the ground, wrapping their thin blankets tightly around them. Maria kept watch, her eyes scanning the darkness for any sign of danger. Elena leaned against her, exhausted, trusting her sister completely. "One day, Maria," Elena whispered sleepily, "we will find a home where we don't have to wander." Maria smiled, brushing a strand of hair from Elena's face. "Yes, little one day. And until then we will walk, we will endure, and we will keep our hearts open to the goodness of people we meet." In the quiet of the night, Maria reflected on the road behind them and the uncertain path ahead. The sisters had survived on courage, hope, and each other's company. They had endured hunger, fatigue, and fear, yet their spirits remained unbroken. Maria knew that the hardest part of their journey was yet to come, the part where they would have to ask for shelter, trust strangers, and show their worth. But she was ready. For Elena, for herself, and for the memory of their family and community they had left behind, Maria was determined to persevere. With the stars above shining like distant promises, Maria held Elena close. She whispered a prayer for safety, for kindness, and for the strength to face whatever lay ahead. The Apache sisters, though weary and worn, carried in their hearts an unyielding flame of hope. But in the open sky, they dreamed of the day when their journey would lead them to a place where work, care, and love would earn them a home. A place where they would be welcomed, respected, and safe. The first part of their story was one of survival and courage, a testament to the resilience of those who refuse to give up even when the world seems harsh and unkind. Maria's determination to protect her sister and keep moving forward despite every obstacle set the foundation for the next stage of their journey, a stage where their words, their humility, and their willingness to help others would become their key to finding shelter and security. The morning sun rose gently over the small farming town, spilling golden light onto the dusty roads. Maria and Elena stepped onto the main path, their bodies weary from the long journey. Yet their spirits carried a quiet determination. They had traveled far, walking through fields, forests, and barren lands, driven by the simple hope of finding shelter and safety. Every town they passed had seemed a promise, yet each had tested their patience as doors remained closed to weary travelers like them. But Maria refused to let disappointment slow them down. "Elena, look," Maria whispered, pointing toward a small house at the edge of the town. It was modest, with whitewashed walls and a tiny garden, but it seemed welcoming in the morning light. The sisters had no choice but to approach, and Maria knew that their next steps could change everything. She took a deep breath, smoothing her worn dress and brushing a strand of hair from her face. "We will speak from the heart," she told her sister. "We will show them we are honest and ready to help." Elena nodded, though her small hand trembled in nervousness. Maria held her sister's hand tightly and led her to the front door. She knocked gently, the sound echoing through the quiet town. Moments passed, and then the door creaked open. A middle-aged woman, her hands still smelling faintly of fresh bread, looked down at the two sisters with curiosity and caution. Her eyes scanned their dusty clothes and tired faces, searching for truth in the strangers before her. Maria bowed slightly, her voice steady but filled with humility. "Please," she said.
We are sisters. We have been traveling for many days and we have no place to stay.
We will work. We will cook.
We will help your home in any way you need. Please grant us shelter, even for a little while.
The woman's eyebrows rose. She looked at Elena, who clung nervously to Maria's side. There was hesitation in her eyes, a natural caution toward strangers. Yet Maria's sincerity was clear. The woman's gaze softened as she asked, "And what will you do if I let you stay? How will you help?" Maria's voice did not falter. "We can cook meals for you, clean the house, help with the garden, take care of any animals. Whatever is needed, we will do it." She spoke not just with words, but with a quiet strength that carried through her tone. "We only ask for a safe place to sleep and some food to keep us going. We have nothing else but our hands and hearts to offer." Elena spoke up timidly, her small voice barely above a whisper.
We can help too, she said.
"I can water plants and sweep the floors. I want to help." The woman studied them for a long moment. The sun caught the dust on their hair and clothes, highlighting how far they had walked, and something in her heart stirred. Her overshadow had struggled to feed her own children during difficult seasons, and she saw in these sisters a reflection of resilience and honesty. After a pause, she spoke gently. "Come in. We will see what can be done." Relief washed over Maria and Elena, and they followed the woman into the small kitchen. Burst.
The aroma of bread baking in the oven greeted them, filling their senses with warmth and hope. Maria could feel the tension in her shoulders ease, but she kept herself composed.
She knew the work would not be easy, and acceptance did not come without effort. She smiled at Elena, who clutched her hand and whispered, "We are safe for now."
Let's show them we are worthy of this kindness. The sisters immediately set to work.
Maria swept the floor, tidied the small garden, and began preparing vegetables for the evening meal. Elena carefully dusted shelves, folded cloths, and arranged flowers in small vases. They moved quietly, their hands steady, their focus unwavering. Maria noticed the woman watching them from the doorway, her expression softening with approval. "You girls are hard-working," she said. "I can see your sincerity in every movement." Days passed, and Maria and Elena proved their dedication. They cooked meals that filled the home with warmth and aroma, cleaned the floors and windows, and tended to small animals in the garden. Their efforts were tireless, and their spirits remained kind and gentle. They never complained, even when the work was hard or when their bodies ached from long hours of labor. In return, the woman offered them food, fresh water, and a small corner of the home to rest at night. Yet, Maria and Elena's journey was not just about physical work. They brought life into the household with their laughter, stories, and quiet acts of kindness. Maria taught Elena to share little moments of joy, whether through humming a soft tune while sweeping or arranging flowers to brighten the home. Their presence reminded the family that even strangers, when sincere and kind, could bring hope and happiness into ordinary life. One afternoon, Maria ventured into the town to gather vegetables for dinner. She walked through streets lined with small homes, each carrying its own story. Children played in the dusty alleys, and women hung laundry on lines, chatting softly.
Maria greeted them politely, her voice humble and respectful. She carried herself with quiet dignity, knowing that trust was earned through actions, not words alone. People nodded in acknowledgement, some offering small smiles, others curious about the new visitors quietly helping the household at the town's edge. Back at the home, Elena was busy preparing the kitchen for the evening meal. She had learned quickly, following Maria's careful instructions. She chopped vegetables, arranged plates, and swept the floors with care. When Maria returned, they worked together seamlessly, the rhythm of their movements reflecting their shared determination.
The woman watched from the doorway, marveling at their teamwork and dedication.
You girls are a blessing, she said softly. You have brought more than work. You have brought warmth to this home. Despite the growing comfort, Maria remained vigilant.
She knew that their place in the town was temporary, that acceptance depended on their continued effort and sincerity. She reminded Elena to remain humble, to work with respect, and to treat everyone with kindness.
Our goal is not just shelter, Maria said one evening as they prepared for bed. It is to show that we can be trusted, that we belong, and that hard work and honesty can open hearts. The sisters' humility and dedication did not go unnoticed. Neighbors began to observe their efforts, slowly warming to the presence of these diligent young women. Some came to offer small gifts, fresh fruits from their gardens, a loaf of bread, or kind words of encouragement. Maria and Elena accepted with gratitude, never arrogance, always mindful that their journey was built on trust and effort. Each act of kindness reinforced their belief in the goodness of people, even in a world that could sometimes seem harsh and unforgiving. As weeks passed, Maria and Elena's relationship with the family grew stronger. They were no longer seen as outsiders, but as integral members of the household. Meals were shared, stories were exchanged, and laughter filled the small home in ways that had not been seen before. Maria often reflected on their journey, remembering the long days of walking, the nights under open skies, and the uncertainty of whether anyone would ever welcome them. She realized that every hardship had prepared them for this moment, teaching patience, resilience, and the quiet power of humility. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting warm hues across the town, Maria and Elena sat outside with the woman who had first welcomed them.
The air was filled with the scent of freshly baked bread and blooming flowers from the garden.
Maria turned to Elena and whispered, "See, little sister, we kept our promise. We worked, we helped, and we were honest. Braces. And now we have a safe place to sleep, food to eat, and hearts that care for us." Elena smiled, her eyes shining with gratitude. "I am glad we kept walking, Maria.
I am glad we never gave up." The woman, noticing their quiet conversation, spoke gently. "You have shown me what courage and sincerity look like."
You did not ask for riches or comfort. You only asked to work and be part of life. And that is why you belong here. Maria nodded, feeling a surge of pride not for herself, but for her sister and the journey they had shared.
They had turned voluntarily into strength, and their willingness to help had opened doors that would have remained closed to many others.
Through their words, actions, and dedication, the Apache sisters had begun to create a new chapter in their lives. They had walked long roads filled with uncertainty, yet through honesty and effort they had found a place that would shelter them, teach them, and help them grow. And though challenges would continue to arise, Maria and Elena now understood a powerful truth.
Kindness and hard work could bridge gaps, heal fears, and build connections stronger than fear or doubt.
Their story, still unfolding, was a testament to the quiet strength of those who seek not just survival but also belonging.
It showed that even in the face of exhaustion, hunger, and uncertainty, persistence, humility, and a willingness to help others could transform lives.
The sisters had walked with hope, and hope had led them to a door that opened, not just to a house, but to a home filled with warmth, trust, and the promise of brighter days ahead. Days had passed since Maria and Elena had been welcomed into the small household at the edge of town. The sisters had become a part of the daily rhythm, rising with the sun, helping in the garden, cooking meals and tending to the small flock of chickens that clucked happily in the yard. Life had grown more predictable, and the sisters had begun to feel the quiet comfort of routine, a feeling they had never truly known in all their travels. Yet Maria knew that life would not always remain so calm, and that challenges often arrived when least expected. One hot afternoon, As the sun beat down on the small town, Maria and Elena were working in the fields, planting seeds for the upcoming season. The ground was hard and dry, but Maria was careful, showing Elena how to dig small holes, place seeds gently, and cover them with soil.
We must treat the earth with respect, Maria said. If we care for it, it will care for us.
Patience and effort are what bring life from the soil. Elena nodded, trying to imitate her sister's careful movements, and together they worked in quiet harmony, their small hands moving steadily in the rich brown dirt. Suddenly, a voice called out sharply from the road. "Hey, stop right there!" Maria and Elena looked up to see a man approaching, his face stern and unwelcoming. He was a stranger to the town, but his presence radiated authority and suspicion. Maria instinctively moved in front of Elena, placing herself as a shield. The man's eyes darted to the sisters' hands, their dust-covered clothes, and the small bundle of tools they carried. "What are you doing here?" he demanded, but his tone left no room for casual explanation, and Maria's heart thumped in her chest. Maria stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. Breaths.
"Sir, we are helping this family with their farm and household. We work here honestly and respectfully."
"We do not mean any harm." Elena clung tightly to her sister, whispering, "Maria, what should we do?" Maria squeezed her hand gently, whispering back, "Stay calm. We must show him we are truthful." The man's gaze narrowed, and he seemed unconvinced.
"I have heard of strangers wandering into towns, pretending to help, only to cause trouble," he said.
"How can I be sure you are not like them?" Maria understood his caution. She had seen fear in the eyes of strangers many times on their journey, yet she refused to allow it to intimidate her. "We ask for nothing but a chance to work and to be part of life here," she said. "Our hands and hearts are honest."
"If you wish, you can speak with the family we are staying with. They will tell you everything." The man hesitated, then nodded slowly, though suspicion still lingered in his eyes.
He followed Maria and Elena toward the small home, each step heavy with tension. Inside, the woman who had first welcomed them immediately came to their defense. "They are honest, hard-working girls," she said firmly. "They have done nothing but help me and my family since the day they arrived. But you can see their work for yourself. Look at the garden, the kitchen. Everything is in order because of them." The man examined the house carefully, his eyes scanning the neatness of the kitchen, the carefully tended garden, and the small flock of chickens that moved calmly under Elena's care. Slowly his expression softened, but a shadow of doubt remained. "I can see that," he admitted. "But there are rules in this town. All visitors must register with the council. You cannot simply stay without permission."
Maria nodded, understanding.
"We will do whatever is required," she said. "We only ask for a chance to remain here until we are safe."
"We will follow every rule, pay any fee if needed, and continue our work without complaint." The man studied them, and then after a long pause he finally spoke. "Very well. You may stay, but you must be registered, and your presence will be noted by the council. Any trouble, and you will leave immediately."
Though the sisters had faced fear and uncertainty before, this moment was different. The world seemed to shrink around them, as if every step of their journey had led to this test of character.
Maria felt the weight of responsibility more keenly than ever. Not only was she responsible for herself, but also for Elena. If they failed, they could lose the safety they had worked so hard to earn. Yet in the face of tension and potential danger, Maria's resolve only strengthened. Over the next few days, Maria and Elena worked harder than ever, proving not just to the townspeople but also to themselves that they were worthy of trust. They cooked meals that filled the home with warmth and aroma, cleaned every corner meticulously, and tended to every plant and animal with care.
They woke before sunrise to fetch water from the well and stayed long after sunset, ensuring that everything was in order.
Their dedication was tireless, and slowly, the townspeople began to notice. Neighbors who had once been cautious now stopped to greet them warmly. Brawl. Children ran to help Elena in the garden, while women asked Maria for advice on cooking and cleaning. Even the man who had questioned them earlier nodded in approval when he saw the sisters' consistency and honesty. Maria realized that trust was not given lightly. It was earned through continuous effort, patience, and integrity. Yet, despite this growing acceptance, life was not without challenges. One afternoon, a sudden storm swept through the town, bringing heavy rain and strong winds. The small house and garden that had been their sanctuary were threatened by flooding and fallen branches. Maria and Elena sprang into action, rushing to secure the home, move the chickens to safer ground, and prevent damage to the garden. Their hands were raw and tired, their clothes soaked through, but neither sister complained. Their only focus was protection and care for what they had worked to nurture. By evening, the storm had passed, leaving the town wet but unharmed. The woman who had welcomed them came outside, her face filled with admiration and gratitude. "You two have saved the garden and the house," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "I do not know what I would have done without you." Maria smiled, exhausted but proud. "We are family now," she said gently. "We look after each other. That is what matters most." The sisters' bravery during the storm solidified their place in the household and the town. People who had been skeptical before now spoke of them with respect, recounting stories of their hard work, courage, and unwavering honesty. Maria and Elena, once strangers wandering in search of shelter, had become symbols of dedication and kindness. Their journey had tested them, challenged them, and forced them to confront fear and uncertainty. But through it all, they had proven their resilience.
As weeks turned into months, Maria began to reflect on their journey.
She remembered the long, dusty roads, the cold nights under open skies, the hunger and fear that had accompanied them every step of the way. Each challenge had taught her something about endurance, humility, and the strength found in family. Elena had grown in confidence, learning new skills and discovering the joy of being valued and needed. Together, they had faced hardship and emerged stronger, not only surviving but thriving in the midst of new challenges. One evening, as the sisters sat outside watching the sun dip below the horizon, Maria turned to Elena and spoke softly. "Little sister, we have come so far. We faced danger, fear, and uncertainty, yet we stayed true to ourselves and each other. Remember this always: honesty, hard work, and courage can carry us through even the hardest trials."
Elena nodded, her eyes bright with understanding. "I will remember, Maria. I will always remember."
In that moment, Maria realized that the true challenge of their journey was not the road, the hunger, or the storm. It was proving to the world that they could be trusted, that they could contribute, and that they deserved a place of safety and respect. They had faced doubt, suspicion, and adversity, yet they had not wavered. And in doing so, they had not only earned a home, but also a sense of belonging that had seemed impossible just months before.
The Apache sisters' story had reached a turning point. The challenges they had faced in the town, the test of trust and honesty, had reshaped their lives. They had moved from wandering strangers to valued members of a community. Yet, Maria knew that their journey was far from over. There would be new challenges, new lessons, and new opportunities to grow and help others. But now, they faced the future with confidence, knowing that together they could overcome any obstacle. Through their courage, dedication, and unwavering honesty, Maria and Elena had transformed what could have been a moment of fear into a lasting triumph. They had learned that true strength lies not only in physical endurance, but also in the resilience of the heart and the ability to face uncertainty with integrity, and in the courage to ask for help when it is needed most. And as the stars appeared in the night sky, shining softly over the town, the sisters sat side by side, their hearts filled with hope.
ready to embrace whatever the next chapter of their journey might bring.
The weeks following the storm brought a quiet, steady rhythm to the lives of Maria and Elena. Their days were filled with work, but it was work that now carried a sense of purpose and pride. Representation, Maria woke with a feeling of determination, knowing that every action she took was building more than just a home. It was building trust, respect, and a future. Elena followed closely, her small hands nimble and careful, learning to handle responsibilities with increasing confidence. The townspeople had begun to recognize the sisters as more than just visitors. They were helpers, friends, and a part of daily life. Farmers would call out greetings when they passed by, neighbors asked for advice or assistance, and children ran to Elena, eager to play and learn alongside her. Maria watched with quiet satisfaction as Elena's face lit up with each interaction. It filled Maria with hope to see her sister's confidence grow, knowing that their long journey of struggle and uncertainty was beginning to bear fruit. Maria herself was changing as well. She had always been strong, but the past months had strengthened not just her body, but her heart and mind. She had learned patience through laboring in the fields, perseverance through long days of walking in uncertainty, and compassion through the connections they were forming. Each challenge they had faced, the long journey, hunger, fear, suspicion from the townspeople, and the storm, had taught her that resilience was not only about enduring hardship, but also about remaining kind, humble, and honest through it all. One afternoon, the woman who had first welcomed them invited Maria and Elena to sit with her on the porch. The sisters had just finished preparing a meal, their hands slightly stained from cutting vegetables and kneading dough. The woman's eyes were warm with gratitude.
"I have watched you two grow since the day you arrived," she said softly. "You have worked tirelessly, cared for this home, and treated everyone with respect. You have earned more than my trust. You have earned the trust of this entire town."
Maria smiled, her hands resting gently on Elena's. "We only did what we felt we must," she said humbly.
It is not for recognition. We simply wanted a chance to live safely, to help where we could, and to show that we are honest." The woman nodded, her eyes glistening. "And in doing so, you have given others the chance to see that kindness and hard work are worth more than words. The children in this town now look up to you. The neighbors respect you. And I
am proud to call you family. Over the next few days, the sisters began to take on even more responsibility within the household and the town.
Maria started helping the woman with planning the harvest, teaching Elena how to keep records of seeds planted and crops grown. Elena, in turn, helped the children in the village, showing them simple ways to care for plants, animals, and the environment. The sisters' influence spread quietly but steadily, bringing a sense of hope and community to the town. People started asking for advice, offering to share their own knowledge in return, and the town itself began to feel more connected. Despite the growing acceptance, Maria and Elena never allowed pride to enter their hearts. They worked not for praise, but for the satisfaction of knowing that their actions mattered.
Maria often reminded Elena, "It is not enough to be accepted. We must continue to show respect and humility. Every act of kindness strengthens the bonds we build."
Elena nodded, understanding the depth of her sister's words. Together they moved through their days with purpose, making small, meaningful contributions that quietly transformed the lives around them. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, casting a golden glow over the town, Maria and Elena were invited to a small gathering at the home of another neighbor. The woman who had first welcomed them walked beside them, her arm linked with Maria's in a gesture of friendship and trust. The sisters were welcomed with smiles, laughter, and the aroma of freshly baked bread. Children ran to hug Elena, and adults offered nods of respect to Maria.
It was in this simple gathering that Maria realized how far they had come, from two wandering sisters seeking shelter to being valued members of a community.
During the gathering, Maria noticed a young boy struggling with a small basket of vegetables. She stepped forward, helping him carry the load and showing him how to balance it properly. The boy's eyes lit up with gratitude and he followed her instructions eagerly. Maria's heart swelled as she saw the joy in his face, realizing that their work was creating ripples of kindness and knowledge that would continue to grow. Elena, too, was busy teaching a group of children how to tend small plants in the garden. Her gentle voice and patient guidance made the children feel capable and important. The sisters' influence reached beyond the household, into the hearts of the town. People began to trust one another more, inspired by the quiet example of Maria and Elena.
Farmers shared surplus crops with those in need, neighbors helped one another with chores, and children played together more harmoniously.
The town, once cautious and reserved, had begun to embrace a sense of unity and goodwill, and Maria realized that even small acts of care could create lasting change.
Yet amidst the success and acceptance, Maria knew that true growth required reflection and learning.
She often spent evenings walking with Elena along the edge of the town, speaking softly about their journey and the lessons they had learned.
We have been given much, she said one night, looking at the starlit sky.
Breath, safety, trust, and friendship. But we must remember the road that brought us here. The hardships, the hunger, the fear. They taught us to value every act of kindness and every opportunity to help. Elena listened attentively, her small hand tucked into her sister's.
I understand, Maria. I will remember everything.
I want to help others, just like you taught me. As the seasons changed, the sisters' bond with the town deepened.
They continued to work tirelessly, not out of obligation, but out of love for the people who had given them a chance.
Their dedication became a source of inspiration, showing the townspeople that courage and kindness could overcome fear, and that honesty and humility could build lasting relationships. Even those who had once doubted them now looked to them as examples of integrity and strength. Maria also found personal growth in this period of stability. She learned to balance leadership with humility, guiding Elena and helping others without seeking recognition. Understanding that trust is built over time through consistent effort. And she experienced joy in small moments, watching children laugh, seeing a seed sprout into a healthy plant, or receiving a simple thank you from a neighbor. These moments, she realized, were far more valuable than any reward or recognition.
Ayla, too, grew in confidence and skill.
She learned to care for the home and garden independently, to teach others, and to face challenges with calm determination. Maria often encouraged her to speak up, to share her ideas, and to lead when appropriate. Elena's growth mirrored Maria's, showing that courage, kindness, and determination could flourish even in the most humble circumstances. One morning, Maria received a message from a neighboring town inviting her to speak to a group of young women about the sisters' journey. She hesitated at first, unsure if she was worthy of attention, but Elena encouraged her, saying, "We have learned much, Maria. Sharing our story will help others just like our story helped us find our place here." Maria agreed, seeing it as an opportunity not for pride, but for teaching and inspiring others. She shared the journey, the hardships, the lessons, and the power of honesty and hard work, with attentive listeners who were eager to learn.
Her words were simple yet filled with truth, touching hearts and inspiring hope.
Through all of this, Maria realized that their story was no longer just about survival. It was about transformation. The sisters had entered the town as strangers seeking shelter, but their efforts, humility, and courage had changed not only their own lives, but also the lives of those around them. They had built connections, inspired trust, and shown that even in a world that can seem harsh and uncertain, kindness and determination can create a community of care. In quiet moments, Maria would reflect on the journey that had brought them here. She remembered the dusty roads, the hunger, the nights under open skies, and the fear that had accompanied every step. Those hardships had been difficult, but they had also shaped her, teaching her patience, resilience, and the true value of family and community. She looked at Elena, now confident and strong, and felt a deep sense of pride.
Together they had not only survived but grown, transforming challenges into opportunities for learning and service. As the sun set each evening, casting warm hues across the town, Maria and Elena would sit outside, hand in hand, watching the life they had helped cultivate.
Children played in the fields, neighbors exchanged smiles and greetings, and the air was filled with the quiet harmony of a community strengthened by care and trust.
Maria realized that their journey had led to more than just a home. It had led to belonging, growth, and the knowledge that even in the face of hardship, goodness can flourish when nurtured with patience and humility. The Apache sisters had come a long way from the dusty roads and uncertain nights of their journey. They had faced fear, doubt, and hardship. Yet through honesty, hard work, and unwavering dedication, they had built a life full of meaning, trust, and connection. Maria and Elena had not only helped themselves, they had helped others, transforming lives through their courage, kindness, and example. And as they looked toward the future, they knew that their journey of growth, learning, and service was only just beginning. The mornings in the town had taken on a quiet, comforting rhythm. Birds sang in the trees, chickens clucked happily in the yard, and the aroma of bread baking in small ovens drifted through the streets. Maria and Elena had long since grown accustomed to the rhythm of daily life. Yet each day still carried the same sense of purpose and pride. Their journey, which had begun in hardship and uncertainty, had led them to a place where work, honesty, and dedication had created a home and a community that trusted and valued them. Maria often awoke before sunrise, stepping outside to watch the sky change colors as the first rays of light touched the hills. The cool morning air was refreshing, and she breathed deeply, grateful for the safety and stability that now surrounded them. Elena, ever eager, would soon join her, and together they would plan their day, tending the garden, preparing meals, caring for the animals, and helping neighbors in need. What had once been a struggle to survive now felt like a life filled with purpose, where every action mattered and every connection was meaningful. The woman who had first welcomed them into her home had become more than a guardian. She was now family. She often spoke of the sisters' journey, marveling at their strength and humility. "You have brought more than help to this household," she would say. "You have brought joy, trust, and hope. The town itself is better because of you." Maria, ever modest, would shake her head. "We only did what we could," she said softly. "It was not for recognition. We only wished to live honestly and help where we could." Yet Maria knew, deep in her heart, that their presence had made a real difference. Their journey had taught her that small acts of dedication could create lasting impact, and she had lived those lessons every day. Elena had grown in confidence beyond Maria's expectations. The timid little girl who had once followed her sister through long, dusty roads now greeted neighbors with cheerful words, tended to animals with skill, and helped teach younger children the lessons she had learned. Maria watched with pride as Elena guided others, knowing that her sister had found the courage to not only survive, but thrive. Together they had transformed hardship into strength, learning that every challenge was an opportunity to grow and contribute to the lives of those around them. One afternoon, the town held a small festival to celebrate the harvest. The streets were alive with color and sound, with children running between stalls, women preparing special dishes, and men sharing stories of the season's work. Maria and Elena joined in the preparations, arranging flowers, cooking bread and stew, and helping set tables. Their presence brought a special energy to the festival, and townspeople often stopped to express their gratitude. "You two have done so much for this town," one neighbor said. "We are lucky to have you here."
Maria smiled politely, feeling warmth at the recognition but remaining humble. "We are grateful for the trust and kindness you have shown us," she said.
"That is what makes our work meaningful."
During the festival, Maria noticed a young woman struggling to carry a basket of food through the crowd. Without hesitation, she stepped forward, helping balance the basket and guiding the young woman to her destination.
Elena nearby was teaching a group of children a simple song about the sun and rain, and the children laughed and sang with joy, their voices carrying through the town square.
In these moments, Maria realized that their journey had come full circle.
They had once relied on the kindness of strangers, and now they were giving kindness freely, helping others and bringing joy into lives just as theirs had been touched by generosity and trust. As the festival drew to a close, Maria and Elena sat quietly on a small hill overlooking the town. The lights of homes glowed softly in the evening, the laughter and chatter of families drifting up to meet the stars. Maria reflected on the long road that had brought them here, the dusty trails, the nights spent under open skies, the hunger and fear that had accompanied every step. She thought of the countless people who had looked at them with suspicion, of the storm that had tested their courage, and of the slow, steady work that had earned them acceptance and respect. Each memory reminded her of how far they had come and how much they had grown. Elena leaned against Maria, her small hand tucked into her sister's. "Do you think we will always be safe here?" she asked softly. Maria smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her sister's face. "I believe we will be," she said.
We have worked honestly, shown respect, and built trust. Safety is not just about walls or doors. It is about the connections we make and the care we give and receive.
Here, we are part of something larger than ourselves. Elena's eyes sparkled as she nodded, understanding her sister's words in her own quiet way. Over time, the sisters' story became known throughout the region. People would speak of the Apache sisters who had traveled far, seeking only shelter, and had transformed a small town through their work, honesty, and kindness. Breaths. Visitors came to see the sisters, not as strangers, but as examples of courage, perseverance, and the power of humility. Maria spoke softly to those who came, sharing the lessons she had learned. That trust is built over time, that small acts of service can create ripples of change, and that even in hardship, kindness and dedication can open doors and hearts.
Maria also began teaching others how to work the land and care for animals, passing on the knowledge she had learned from both her village and her journey. Elena helped children learn simple skills, teaching them patience, responsibility, and the joy of helping others. The sisters had become mentors, guiding and inspiring those around them, and the town flourished in response. Gardens bloomed, homes were cared for with renewed attention, and children grew up learning the importance of service and integrity from the examples of Maria and Elena. Yet amidst all this growth, Maria and Elena never forgot the long road that had brought them here. Each night, as they lay down to sleep in the small corner of the home that had become theirs, Maria whispered a quiet prayer of gratitude. To Breast, she gave thanks for safety, for the family and town that had welcomed them, and for the lessons learned through struggle and perseverance. Elena, still holding her sister's hand, murmured her own prayer, filled with hope for the future and gratitude for the journey that had shaped her life. The Apache sisters' journey had transformed from one of survival to one of purpose. They had come seeking shelter, asking only for a chance to live and work honestly, yet they had found so much more: belonging, respect, love, and the knowledge that their efforts could make a real difference. Maria reflected on the truth she had discovered along the way, that hardship, when met with courage and integrity, could become a teacher, and that even the smallest acts of dedication and kindness could change lives. In the quiet evenings, Maria and Elena would sometimes walk to the edge of the town, looking out over the fields and hills that had once seemed so intimidating. They spoke of dreams for the future, gardens that would bloom in every season, children who would learn to care for the land and one another, and a town that would continue to thrive through kindness and cooperation. Maria felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Their journey had begun with uncertainty and fear, Yet through determination, honesty, and a willingness to help, they had carved a place for themselves and for others in the world. The sisters also realized the power of example.
By living with integrity, patience, and humility, they had inspired those around them.
Neighbors who had once doubted strangers now welcomed new travelers with kindness. And children who had never known the value of hard work and honesty now carried those lessons into their own lives.
Maria understood that their journey was no longer just about themselves. It was about creating a legacy of care, trust, and community that would endure long after their own story was told.
One morning, as the first light of dawn touched the town, Maria and Elena set out to help a new family that had just arrived. The travelers were weary, dusty, and uncertain, much like the sisters had once been.
Maria knelt beside the smallest child, offering a warm smile. "We will help you," she said softly.
"We will work. We will cook. We will care for you. You are welcome here." Elena held the child's hand gently, guiding him toward food and rest.
In that moment, Maria felt the full circle of their journey. The kindness they had once received was now being shared with others, ensuring that hope and trust continued to ripple outward. As the sun rose higher, the town came alive with activity. Yet the presence of Maria and Elena brought a special warmth to every corner. Their story, once a journey of hardship, had become a story of hope, courage, and transformation. They had proven that even in the face of uncertainty and fear, honesty, humility, and dedication could open hearts and create lasting bonds. Their lives were no longer defined by struggle, but by the impact they had made and the community they had helped nurture. Maria and Elena had found more than a home. They had found belonging, purpose, and the knowledge that their efforts mattered. They had walked a long road, faced countless challenges, and emerged stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. But as they watched the sun set over the town, the sisters knew that their journey, though it had brought them to safety, would continue, not as wanderers, but as builders of community, guides of others, and living examples of the power of courage, honesty, and love. The Apache sisters had begun their journey asking for shelter, but they had created so much more. Through their tireless work, humility, and unwavering dedication, they had earned respect, trust, and a place in the hearts of those around them. Their story became a lasting reminder that kindness, courage, and a willing heart could transform lives, create bonds, and inspire hope, showing that even the smallest actions, when guided by honesty and care, could light the way for others.